Is it possible that the suffering of the narcissist in your life, the torment you now see them experiencing, is not an accident or a coincidence? What if their current agony is not just bad luck, but a precisely orchestrated part of a larger plan? What if every chaotic event, every broken relationship, every single moment of their pain is, in a way, an answer to the very cries of your heart? A sign that something far greater than you or them is at work? This isn't just about their karma catching up to them. This is about a spiritual principle so profound and ancient that it has been at the very foundation of existence since time began. You're about to see the hidden torment of the narcissist not as mere consequence, but as a deliberate, unfolding purpose. And what you learn will change how you see their downfall forever. The narcissist, you know, is not just a person with a personality disorder. As Scripture reveals, they are an idol worshiper, but their idol isn't a statue of wood or stone. Their idol is a reflection of themselves. They have made themselves a god in their own mind, and they worship that creation with every breath. This is the source of their hidden torment. The Bible tells us that when a person dedicates their life to anything other than the one true source of life, they begin to die spiritually. A self-made God is the emptiest of all, and it is a painful, horrifying thing to worship nothing but your own reflection. Think about what the prophet Jeremiah says. He is speaking of false idols, but his words describe the narcissist's spiritual emptiness perfectly. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 5 reveals, "They are upright like a palm tree, but cannot speak. They must be carried, for they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, nor is it in them to do any good." This is the narcissist's reality. They stand upright, projecting an image of strength and confidence, but they cannot truly speak with a voice of authentic love or empathy. They must be propped up by the admiration and validation of others, for they cannot stand on their own spiritual legs. They cannot do any real good, nor can they receive it. Their entire life is a spiritual desert, a wasteland where they thirst for a living water they refuse to drink. This is the torment you don't see. The outward chaos and bad luck are merely symptoms of this deeper disease. The desperate need for attention, the constant seeking of approval, the need to control every person and situation, all of it is a frantic, hollow attempt to fill a void so massive it's terrifying. This is the truth of their suffering. Their inner world is a screaming echo chamber, a place where their own voice is the only thing they can hear, and it is a voice of desperate lies and endless self-condemnation. They are trapped in a cycle of their own making, a spiritual prison with a lock that only they can turn. The narcissist's very existence becomes a fragile, self-serving performance. They are an actor on a stage with an audience of one, themselves. And every time the applause isn't loud enough, every time a co-star forgets their lines, every time the scenery shifts in an unexpected way, their inner world begins to shake. Their misery isn't an emotion they can feel or a moment they can escape from. Their misery is the very air they breathe. It's the constant, agonizing reminder that their self-made kingdom is built on sand, a fleeting dream that can be wiped out in an instant. As they become more miserable, you will notice their behavior becomes more erratic, more desperate, and even more cruel. This is a sign of their spiritual unraveling, not their power. They are lashing out because the lies they tell themselves are no longer working. Their torment is growing, and they are feeling a desperate need to externalize that pain onto others. But this is the final trap. It is a desperate, pathetic attempt to escape their own spiritual hell. They can't run from it. Their very being has become a house divided against itself, and as Scripture reminds us, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And that house, the one they built on a foundation of pride and lies, is about to fall. The house they built, a fragile monument to their own self-importance, is indeed a house divided against itself. It is a spiritual truth that a home split by conflict from within cannot endure. The Bible tells us this plain and simple truth. And it's the perfect description of a narcissist soul. Their internal world is not a single unified being. It is a chaotic battlefield. One part of them desperately needs to be seen as perfect, to be adored and put on a pedestal. Another part, however, is consumed by a hidden self-loathing so profound it would shatter most people. These two sides are in a constant, brutal civil war, and you are caught in the crossfire. Jesus speaks of this truth in Mark chapter 3, verse 25. And if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. This isn't just a political statement. It's a profound revelation about the state of a human soul. The narcissist's mind is the house, and their dueling identities are its warring inhabitants. The kind, charming person they present to the world is at war with the cruel, malicious person they hide. The one who seeks love is in constant battle with the one who fears intimacy and seeks only to control. This is the ultimate trap, a prison they built for themselves. They are both the warden and the inmate, and they can't escape because they can't see the bars. This internal warfare manifests as the erratic, unpredictable behavior that can drive you to the edge of your sanity. One moment, they are the best person you've ever met, full of promises and grand gestures. The next, they are cold, distant, and filled with a silent rage. This isn't a choice. It's a symptom of their spiritual sickness. Their kindness is a tool of their charming side, a desperate attempt to gain the admiration they need to feed the part of them that feels empty. The cruelty, meanwhile, is the dark side lashing out, terrified of vulnerability, striking first because they believe everyone will eventually betray them. They are running on an endless treadmill, trying to outrun the shadow of their own self-condemnation. Every time you get close to their true self, the part that is broken and in pain, their protective mechanisms kick in. They lash out, they devalue you, they discard you. They aren't doing this to you because you are unworthy. They are doing it because they fear their own hidden worthlessness will be exposed through your loving connection. This is the source of their frantic efforts to control everything. They must control the narrative, the people around them, and every single situation to ensure that their carefully constructed facade does not crack. This spiritual division makes them the ultimate spiritual captive. Their suffering is not just emotional or physical. It is a deep spiritual torment. They cannot find rest because their own being is in a state of constant violent turmoil. Their misery is the sound of that internal civil war, a battle they are destined to lose. The more they try to win, the harder they fight, the more they tear themselves apart. And the more they tear themselves apart, the more they have to lash out at the world to escape the overwhelming sound of the chaos inside. They have made themselves a god, and this god is a monster. Their life is an endless prayer to themselves, a desperate plea for validation, attention, and supply. This is the true price of their pride, the spiritual consequence of worshiping their own reflection. As their external world begins to crumble, as their relationships fall apart, and their lies are exposed, the internal house, already at war with itself, begins to shake violently. The cracks are forming, and the foundation is beginning to give way. But how does this obsession with self, this spiritual prison of their own making, trap them in the most painful of all punishments, a life spent worshiping the emptiest of all gods? The spiritual price for their internal civil war, a battle they are destined to lose, is the most profound of all, a life spent worshiping the emptiest of all gods. That God is themselves. This isn't just about a high sense of self-worth. It is spiritual idolatry. The narcissist has crafted an image of who they want to be: perfect, flawless, and deserving of endless admiration, and they have knelt down and worshipped it. But the Bible is clear about what happens to those who create and worship false gods. Those gods are nothing. And so, the narcissist's spiritual reality is nothing, a gaping void where life and light should be. The prophet Isaiah reveals this truth in Isaiah chapter 44 verses 9 and 10, when he says, "All who make idols are nothing, and the things they delight in do not profit. Their witnesses neither see nor know, that they may be put to shame. Who would fashion a god or cast an image that is profitable for nothing?" This is the narcissist story told in Scripture. They have fashioned a god from their own reflection, a god that is profitable for nothing. This self-worship is why they can't truly connect with anyone. To connect with another soul, you have to be willing to see them as a separate, unique creation, and not as a reflection of yourself or a tool to serve your own image. Because the narcissist has made themselves their own god. They are spiritually blind. They can't see you as you truly are. They can only see what they can get from you, whether it's praise, attention, or control. You are not a person to them. You are a source of supply, a witness to their personal glory. This is why their relationships feel so hollow. They are talking to a reflection in a mirror, and they wonder why there's no one to talk back. This spiritual isolation is a slow, agonizing death. They are surrounded by people, but they are profoundly, terrifyingly alone. This spiritual isolation is the engine of their misery. They are living a lie and serving an empty master. Every piece of supply they receive is a fleeting high, but it never fills the deep spiritual hunger. They are constantly starving, no matter how much praise they receive. This is the truth behind their constant restlessness and their insatiable need for more. They are trying to fill a spiritual void with material things and shallow praise, and it can't be done. The emptiness grows, and with it, their desperation, their cruelty, their gaslighting, their manipulation, and their endless cycles of devaluation are all symptoms of this spiritual poverty. They are not acting from a place of strength or power. They are acting from a place of profound inner weakness. They are terrified that their nothingness will be exposed, so they must tear others down to make themselves feel taller. It is the cry of a starving soul, a ghost in a living body trying to haunt the world into giving it life. This is the ultimate spiritual prison. The narcissist is not just living in a lie. Their very existence has become a lie. They are cut off from the one source of life and love, and they have been left to wander in a desert of their own making. They have chosen to reap nothing and to sow nothing but falsehood, but a different kind of harvest is coming for them. The Bible makes it clear that we always reap what we sow. And while they have been busy sowing seeds of lies and manipulation into the lives of others, a bitter, inevitable harvest is being prepared. And now, as they begin to reap what they have sown, their misery is becoming visible for all to see. Now we arrive at the heart of their current torment, the inevitable law of the harvest. The narcissist has spent their entire existence sowing seeds of chaos, deceit, and emotional agony into the lives of everyone they touch. They operate under the illusion that their cunning and charm allow them to bypass the fundamental principles that govern the universe. They believe they can take without giving, mock love without consequence, and inflict pain without ever facing a reckoning. But the spiritual realm operates under a rule that is absolute, a principle that cannot be tricked, mocked, or avoided. The Bible tells us this truth clearly in Galatians chapter 6 verse 7. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap. This is not a threat. It is a statement of an unyielding spiritual law, a cosmic guarantee of consequence. Every seed of contempt they sowed, every kernel of cruelty they planted, is now multiplying into a vast and bitter harvest. This is the source of their suffering. It is not random bad luck. It is their past returning to them with ruthless precision. Think about what they sowed. They sowed betrayal, so they now find themselves surrounded by people they cannot trust, even if those people are simply their own paranoid projections. They sowed confusion and gaslighting, so their own reality is now dissolving into a disorienting, terrifying blur. They sowed emotional abandonment, so they are facing a profound and terrifying isolation. The misery they inflicted on you and others is now returning, tailored perfectly to their specific cruelty. This is the no mercy part of the divine plan. The punishment fits the crime, not because a vengeful hand is striking them down arbitrarily, but because they are simply experiencing the natural, multiplied consequences of their own dark actions. The narcissist tries desperately to fight this law. They try to find new sources of supply, new people to blame, and new narratives to create. But every attempt they make to avoid accountability only forces the law to work faster and with greater intensity. They are like a person standing in the path of a hurricane they created, trying to push it back with a single hand. It is impossible. Every new lie they tell is just another seed of ruin planted, a guarantee of future torment. They are trapped in an ever-accelerating cycle of self-destruction, convinced that the world is punishing them unfairly, never realizing that the world is merely giving them back what they threw out. This is why their misery is becoming so visible. The inner chaos they tried to hide is now erupting into their outer world. Their attempts to blame you for their downfall are nothing more than a final, pathetic spiritual evasion. They project their internal agony because they refuse to acknowledge that the problem and the torment originates entirely within themselves. They cannot mock the law of the harvest, and their refusal to take accountability only ensures that the harvest is reaped with greater speed and severity. The seeds they planted years ago are now fully grown, towering over them, blocking out the light and consuming their peace. But as this relentless harvest continues, the pressure becomes unbearable. Their carefully constructed reality, built entirely on lies, is now beginning to disintegrate. Their entire identity is about to crumble under the weight of this overwhelming consequence. The narcissist, the architect of their own false world, is about to witness its spectacular, self-inflicted implosion. The weight of their falsehood is about to crush them, and what happens next would shock anyone. The weight of their falsehood has now become a crushing burden. The narcissist world, that meticulously crafted illusion they built for themselves, is not a solid structure. It is a house of cards built on a foundation of shifting sand. For years, the illusion held, propped up by their charm, their lies, and their relentless manipulation. But the spiritual law of sowing and reaping, like a relentless storm, has begun to blow, and the entire structure is now beginning to tremble and sway. Their carefully constructed reality is collapsing under the crushing weight of its own emptiness, and the truth is about to be revealed. This is exactly what is described in the Bible. Jesus tells a story in Matthew, chapter 7, verses 26 and 27. A story of a foolish man. That could be a mirror for the narcissist. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. This is the narcissist's fate. They built their entire life, their self-image, their relationships, and their reputation on the sand of their own lies. The rain and the floods are the natural consequences of a life lived without integrity. The winds are the relentless pressures of life itself, which reveal the true nature of what a person has built. Their charming facade, the carefully chosen words, the fake promises, and the manufactured loyalty, all of it is the sand, and it is offering no resistance to the coming storm. The things they used to control are now spinning out of their grasp. People who once admired them are now seeing the cracks in the mask. The relationships they built on a foundation of lies are disintegrating under the slightest pressure, and the fall will be great. The greater the lies, the grander the false image they created, the more devastating their inevitable collapse. They lived a life of make-believe, but now the real world is breaking down their door. Their misery is a direct result of this collision. They are suffering because they are being forced to confront a reality they have spent their entire life running from. The torment is not external. It is the feeling of their own world being dismantled, brick by hollow brick. As the truth rushes in, their reaction to this collapse is telling. Instead of looking at their crumbling foundation and changing course, they blame the storm. They blame you. They blame everyone and everything around them. They cannot admit that the problem is their own shoddy architecture, because to do so would be to admit their entire identity is a lie. This is why their suffering is so profound. They are experiencing the terrifying truth of their own nothingness, but their pride prevents them from acknowledging it, trapping them in a cycle of denial and self-destruction. Their downfall is not just a consequence. It is a profound spiritual unveiling. The world is being shown the truth. The actor on the stage has forgotten their lines, the props are falling down, and the audience is beginning to laugh. Their misery is the sound of that final, devastating curtain call, a testament to the futility of building a life on a foundation of falsehood. But what is truly remarkable about this collapse is not just its inevitability, but the powerful force behind it. Is it just the law of the harvest, or is a powerful, divine hand working in the shadows to expose and bring down this false kingdom? So, is there a powerful force at work here? Is a divine hand truly behind the downfall of the narcissist? The answer is an absolute yes. What you are witnessing is not just a natural occurrence, it is a spiritual inevitability. The universe, in its very structure, is working to expose and bring down every single falsehood, and the narcissist, built entirely on lies, is a primary target. They are suffering because they have chosen to fight against the relentless, unstoppable tide of truth, and in that fight, they will lose everything. The Bible tells us this truth in Luke chapter 8, verse 17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." This is a spiritual law that operates independent of our desires. It says that all things hidden must eventually be revealed. The narcissist has built their entire life on secrets, secret motives, secret deceptions, and a hidden, empty self. But now, that spiritual law is at work, shining a powerful light on every corner of their dark existence. This is the divine hand in action. It's not a physical hand, but a spiritual principle that orchestrates a series of seemingly random events that lead to their exposure. A person they wronged years ago suddenly speaks up. A lie they told to one person is accidentally revealed to another. A single, small mistake they make exposes a vast web of deceit. These aren't accidents. They are perfectly timed moments, designed to bring the truth into the light. The narcissist's misery is a direct result of being unmasked. They are suffering because they are being forced to live in the light when they have been a creature of the dark. Their reaction to this exposure is to become more paranoid, more frantic, and more desperate to cover up the truth. They will start to accuse others of betraying them, to create new lies to cover the old ones, and to lash out with a cruelty that comes from pure, unadulterated fear. This is the no mercy part of the divine plan. They are given no peace, no hiding place, no chance to escape the relentless unveiling. The light follows them everywhere, and the more they try to hide, the brighter it seems to shine. Their suffering is a result of their own choice to fight against the truth. They are not being tormented by an external force, but by their own decision to resist the spiritual current that is trying to bring all things into the light. Their refusal to live with integrity is now causing their entire world to crumble, and their misery is the sound of that collapse. They are experiencing the terror of being seen for who they really are, not the powerful, perfect person they pretend to be, but a deeply wounded and empty soul who built their entire life on a lie. But as this false kingdom falls, another kingdom is rising, and it's the one you're building within yourself. As the narcissist's power fades, your spiritual strength is growing. It turns out that your very peace and spiritual strength are directly contributing to their downfall, and you don't even know it. Your surrender to truth is a direct counter to their resistance, and it's a powerful force they cannot defeat. It's time to talk about your power in all of this. What you might not realize is that as the narcissist's kingdom falls, your kingdom is rising. Your inner peace and spiritual strength, the very things you've been fighting to reclaim, are not just for your own benefit. They are a direct force of spiritual resistance that is actively tormenting the narcissist. As you grow stronger, they become weaker. This is not a coincidence. It's a direct consequence of a spiritual law in motion. They have been feeding on your chaos and your energy, but now that you are building your peace, you are starving them of their supply. The Bible tells us about this principle in James, chapter 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. While the narcissist isn't the devil, they represent a powerful, dark force that has tried to control your life. The principle is the same. When you find your true spiritual center, when you stop fighting, them on their terms and submit to a higher power, you gain the ability to resist their chaos. And in that moment of submission and resistance, they lose their hold on you. They are forced to flee. Your resistance is not an active battle. It's not about arguing with them or trying to prove a point. Your resistance is your inner peace. It's your refusal to be pulled into their drama. It's the moment you choose to find your calm and walk away from their storm. Your spiritual strength is a direct counter to their desperation. It's an energy they cannot comprehend and cannot control. Your peace is their poison, and it's why their frantic attempts to regain your attention become more and more pathetic. They are trying to find the one thing that used to feed them, but that food is no longer there. This is a deep source of their misery. They see your peace, and they cannot stand it. It is a living, breathing testament to their own inner chaos. Your happiness is an accusation. Your joy is a form of judgment. It's a painful reminder of what they lack, what they have lost, and what they can never truly possess. They are tormented because they see you flourishing in the light they tried so hard to snuff out. They watch as you build a life of integrity, and it reveals their own life of falsehood for what it is. Your very existence, when lived in peace and truth, is a powerful weapon in this spiritual war. You don't have to raise a single finger against them. All you have to do is heal, to grow, and to let go. This process of your own spiritual renewal is what is bringing their false kingdom to its knees. Their torment is not something you are creating. It is something they are experiencing as a result of their own actions. You are simply removing yourself from the cycle of their chaos, and in doing so, you are revealing their true, powerless nature. But this spiritual power isn't just for defense. It's also for release. You have gained a strength you never thought you had, and now you must use it for the final, most profound step of your journey. Your next move, the one that will truly torment them and set you free forever, is to let go of the past. It is to spiritually forget the pain they caused and move into a new and powerful future. Now that you are building your strength, it is time to wield it. The single most powerful thing you can do to both set yourself free and profoundly torment the narcissist is to spiritually forget the past. This isn't about ignoring what happened to you or giving them a pass. It is an act of sacred, powerful release. The pain you carry, the anger, the memories of betrayal, all of it is a spiritual anchor tying you to them. When you release that anchor, you unleash a new, powerful energy that sends a message to the universe and to the narcissist. You are free. The Bible tells us about this power. In Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, it says, "But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead." This is not an instruction to have a selective memory or to pretend that the pain never happened. It is a spiritual command to no longer be defined by your past. It is an instruction to stop carrying the burden of their actions. The narcissist's power over you exists only as long as you are emotionally and spiritually tied to them. And that connection is built on the pain they caused. When you refuse to hold on to that pain, you are starving them of their final source of supply. The narcissist wants you to stay angry. They want you to be consumed by the injustice of what happened to you. They want you to want revenge, to want them to suffer, because that emotional energy still makes them feel powerful. Your desire for justice Your need to see them fail, all of it to them, is a testament to their continued importance in your life. When you truly let go, you are doing more than just healing yourself. You are sending a spiritual message that says you are no longer relevant. Your silence is a proclamation of their defeat. Your peace is an insurmountable wall they cannot climb. Your happiness is an act of spiritual warfare, and it's the one they are not equipped to fight. Because they can't take your joy, and they can't take your peace. All they had was your pain, and by releasing it, you have left them with nothing. This is the ultimate form of no contact. It is not just physical, it is spiritual. You are severing the energetic cord that they have been using to drain you dry. When you do this, you are not being passive. You are being incredibly active. You are choosing to focus your energy on creating a new life for yourself, on building a future that is so full of light that it makes the darkness of your past seem insignificant. And what torments them most about this is that it's not an attack. They can't argue with it. They can't gaslight it. They can't manipulate it. It's simply the absence of their power. You are not fighting them. You are simply walking away into a new powerful existence and leaving them behind. It is the one outcome they could never prepare for, the one move that renders all of their manipulations and all of their false power utterly meaningless. But as you move forward into this new freedom, something very interesting is happening behind you. Because your release of their energy is causing a seismic shift in their world. The mask of the narcissist is beginning to slip, not just in private, but for everyone to see. And what happens next will expose them for all to see as their world, built on lies, finally shatters. As you begin to let go and find your peace, something remarkable and terrifying is happening to the narcissist behind the scenes. Their inner world, already in a state of chaos, is now being exposed to the public. Their mask, that carefully constructed facade of charm and control, is beginning to slip in a way that is impossible for them to hide. The polished persona they use to deceive others is failing, and their true, desperate, and cruel nature is finally being revealed for all to see. This is a profound spiritual consequence. The Bible speaks of this kind of behavior. Isaiah chapter 32 verse 7 reveals, "The tyrant's devices are evil. He plans wicked schemes to ruin the poor with lying words, even when the plea of the needy is just." The narcissist is a tyrant in their own small kingdom, and for years, they have used their lying words and wicked schemes to ruin the lives of those they feign to love. But now, those devices are failing. The lies sound hollow, the schemes are transparent, and their words are beginning to reveal the malice that has always been at their core. Their desperation is now visible. You will notice them becoming more overtly aggressive and less passive-aggressive. The subtle put-downs become open insults. The hidden manipulations become blatant attempts at control. This isn't a sign of power. It is a sign of complete spiritual panic. The spiritual supply they needed to maintain their facade has been cut off by your peace and by the divine law of exposure. They are running on empty, and the ugly, panicked part of themselves is showing for the world to see. They are burning bridges everywhere they go, not because they are choosing to, but because they no longer have the internal spiritual energy to sustain their relationships. People they once charmed are now seeing the bitter, petty, and cruel person that you have known all along. Their attempts to blame you for their downfall now sound pathetic and unhinged to a wider audience. They are an actor on a stage without a script, frantically trying to improvise and failing spectacularly. Their misery is the direct result of having to live in plain view for the first time in their lives, and the experience is excruciating for them. This public unraveling is a final, no-mercy act of the divine plan. It is a form of public justice, not for your satisfaction, but for the protection of future souls. The narcissist's self-destruction is a loud, chaotic warning to others. It is a sign that the ground they are walking on is unstable, that their promises are empty, and that their charm is a spiritual poison. Their public fall is a beacon for those who might have otherwise been their next victim. Their outward collapse, this public shedding of their mask, is not the end of the story. It is merely a symptom of a much deeper, unseen battle that has been raging for your soul all along. Their desperation is the sound of a spiritual enemy that has been fighting you in the shadows. And what you learn next will change how you see every moment of your past. The physical conflict was just a manifestation of the unseen war for your heart and your mind. It's time to recognize the true nature of your past struggle, because it was never just a battle against a person. It was an unseen spiritual war for your very soul. The narcissist was not just an individual with a toxic personality. They were a physical manifestation of a deeper, spiritual attack on your peace, your identity, and your connection to a higher purpose. Their tactics of manipulation, gaslighting, and isolation were not just emotional tools. They were spiritual weapons designed to make you doubt your sanity, your worth, and your very place in the universe. The Bible makes it clear that we are engaged in this kind of struggle. As Scripture reveals, in Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12, we are told, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." The narcissist's role in your life can be seen through this lens. They are an individual, yes, but their behavior and their relentless attacks on your soul were part of a greater unseen battle. Their goal was to steal your joy, to kill your spirit, and to destroy your identity. Their devaluations were designed to break your sense of worth. Their gaslighting was meant to sever your connection to your own mind and your own reality. Their isolation tactics were an attempt to cut you off from the people who could see their true nature and from the spiritual source of your strength. This was all part of a spiritual war to make you a shell of who you were meant to be. The narcissist, in their own spiritual emptiness, made themselves a willing vessel for this kind of darkness. Their self-worship, their pride, their cruelty, all of it made them spiritually vulnerable, and they chose to align with a destructive force. This is the ultimate reason for their misery. They are not just suffering from a personality disorder. They are experiencing the spiritual consequences of their own choices. They are a person tormented by the very darkness they chose to embody, and their inner chaos is a direct result of that alignment. Your escape from them was a profound spiritual victory. It wasn't just you walking away from a toxic relationship. It was you winning a battle for your soul. Their suffering is a sign that the spiritual forces that used them have been defeated in your life, and they are now left to deal with the inevitable backlash. You are not responsible for their misery. You are simply the one who broke free, and in doing so, You expose their spiritual bondage for what it is. The narcissist is a person at war with their own soul, and they are losing. They are an individual who chose to make themselves an idol and to be a vessel for darkness, and now they are experiencing the bitter, final consequences of that choice. The spiritual emptiness they feel is a wound that can never be healed as long as they choose to stay in the darkness, but a spiritual vessel that refuses to change is ultimately discarded. The narcissist, who made themselves a god, is now being broken down piece by piece. Their self-made idol is cracking, and the spiritual cost is a misery they can no longer hide. The misery of a broken idol is a sound you will never forget, and it is a judgment that is final. The narcissist, in their ultimate act of self-worship, made themselves an idol. They crafted an image of perfection and demanded that the world bow down to it. But now, that idol is crumbling. Their misery is the sound of a spiritual object shattering. The sound of a false god being revealed as nothing more than clay and emptiness. The narcissist is not just a person in pain. They are a broken idol, a spiritual statue that can no longer stand on its own. The Bible gives us a perfect picture of this. In Psalm chapter 115 verses 4 to 8, it describes the futility of worshiping idols. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths, but do not speak. Eyes, but do not see. They have ears, but do not hear. Noses, but do not smell. They have hands, but do not feel. Feet, but do not walk. And they do not make a sound in their throat. Those who make them become like them. So do all who trust in them. This is the narcissist's spiritual reality. They have a mouth, but they cannot speak with genuine love or truth. They have eyes, but they cannot truly see the humanity of others. They only see what they can gain. They have hands, but they cannot truly give. They can only take. And they have made themselves into this kind of idol, a hollow shell of a human being. The spiritual consequence is that they have become what they worship, an empty, powerless, and profoundly miserable thing. The misery of the broken idol is the torment of losing their false power. Their charm, the very thing they relied on to get what they wanted, no longer works. The lying words that once swayed people are now seen for what they are, pathetic attempts at control. The grand promises they once made are now exposed as empty boasts. They are an idol that can no longer stand, and their attempts to get attention now just seem desperate and pathetic to a world that is finally waking up to the truth. This is a profound humiliation for them. Their entire sense of self-worth was tied to the idea that they were a special, flawless being, a god among mere mortals. Now, that illusion is shattered. They are not just suffering from their current circumstances. They are suffering from the existential terror of realizing that they were never who they pretended to be. The person they worshipped was never real, and now there is nothing left. Their emptiness has become a constant nagging ache, a spiritual phantom limb that they can no longer feel, but there is a reason for this. This spiritual breaking is part of a greater divine plan. The pain you endured was not in vain. It was a catalyst for a profound spiritual awakening, a higher purpose you are only just beginning to discover. The misery of the broken idol is a sign that the pain you experienced had a meaning you never expected, and that meaning is the key to your own future. It is time to look at your own journey and recognize the divine purpose in the pain you experienced. The suffering you endured at the hands of the narcissist was not random. It was a spiritual crucible designed to test, to refine, and to ultimately forge you into a stronger, wiser person. The pain was not a punishment, but a tool, a dark catalyst that has set you on a path to a profound spiritual awakening. You have been through the fire, and you have emerged as pure gold. The Bible reveals this profound truth. As Scripture says in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, "More than that, we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us." This is your story. The suffering you endured with the narcissist was a painful but necessary process. That suffering produced endurance, the spiritual stamina to withstand adversity and to not give up. That endurance, in turn, produced character. It revealed who you truly were when you were under pressure, when your resources were depleted, and when your world was in chaos. And that character, forged in fire, produced an unbreakable hope, a hope so strong that it cannot be put to shame. Your hope is not based on circumstances or on the whims of others. It is based on the spiritual foundation you have built. Because of what you went through, you now possess gifts you never would have had otherwise. You have a spiritual discernment that can see through lies and manipulation in an instant. You have a profound empathy for others who are suffering. You have learned to find your worth and your strength in a higher power, not in the empty praise of a person. The very thing the narcissist used to try and destroy you is now the source of your greatest strength. This is spiritual alchemy at work. And this transformation is a profound source of torment for the narcissist. They see you flourishing. They see your newfound wisdom and your inner peace. They see that the very pain they inflicted has not destroyed you, but has instead made you stronger. This is the ultimate no mercy for them. The very act they thought would break you is what ultimately set you free. The suffering you endured was a divine purpose, a part of a greater plan to make you a person of unbreakable hope. Your healing is not a private act. It is a living testament to a spiritual principle at work in the world. Your new life, your peace, and your strength are a living, breathing declaration that darkness cannot defeat light. This makes your victory a profound part of the divine plan and an endless source of torment for the broken idol you once knew. Your victory is not just a personal triumph. It is a profound and final judgment against their false life. As you reclaim your life and find your joy, the narcissist is confronted with their defeat in the most tormenting way imaginable. They expected you to fall apart, to wither away in pain, to be a living testament to their power. But your strength, your peace, and your happiness are a living declaration that their plan to destroy you has failed. And that is a torment they can never escape. The Bible tells us about this dynamic. In Proverbs chapter 28 verse 1, it says, "The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion." This is the spiritual reality of their current situation. The narcissist, the wicked one in this story, is now fleeing in a state of spiritual panic. They are not running from you. They are running from the consequences of their own actions. They are running from the law of the harvest. They are running from the divine hand of exposure. They are running from the truth, and there is no one and nowhere to hide. You, on the other hand, are now bold as a lion. You are no longer living in fear. You are no longer held captive by their lies or their manipulations. Your spiritual strength, forged in the fire of suffering, has given you an unshakable confidence. Your courage is a direct contrast to their spiritual cowardice, and your peace is a constant, nagging reminder of their profound misery. Every time they see you thriving, every time they hear about your new life, their torment grows. Your happiness is the ultimate judgment. It proves that you are not a victim, but a victor. It proves that their plan to control and destroy you was utterly and completely useless. They are tormented by the fact that you no longer need them, that your spiritual supply comes from a source they can't touch, and that your life is moving forward in a direction of peace and prosperity they can never experience. They live in a zero-sum world where for them to win, someone else must lose. And your life is now a living, breathing testament to their ultimate loss. This is the no mercy part of the divine plan. You are not seeking revenge. You are not holding on to anger. You are simply living your life, and in doing so, you are causing them the most profound pain they can experience. Their greatest fear was being forgotten, being rendered irrelevant. And your life, lived in joy and freedom, is the ultimate fulfillment of that fear. You are a spiritual mirror, and in it, they can see the full extent of their own defeat. But your victory is not just about their defeat. It is about your liberation. The end of this story is a new beginning for you, a promise of a life filled with a profound and lasting peace that is your birthright. The spiritual judgment on their life is merely a signpost pointing you toward a new and beautiful future, one that is truly and completely your own. As you reclaim your courage and find your joy, you are stepping into the beautiful promise of a new freedom, a life that is truly and completely your own. The end of their story, the final judgment on their darkness, is the new beginning of yours. You have won the spiritual battle, and now you get to live out the victory. This new life is a profound and lasting peace, a freedom from all the chains they tried so hard to bind you with. The Bible tells us about this kind of liberation. In John chapter 8 verse 36 it says, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." This is more than just a physical separation from the narcissist. This is a spiritual freedom from the lies, the manipulation, and the emotional and mental bondage they tried to impose on you. You are free from the constant doubt they tried to create in your mind. You are free from the fear of their unpredictable rage. You are free from the endless cycle of abuse and evaluation. This is a freedom indeed, a total and complete liberation of the soul. This new life is a garden of healing. You can now plant the seeds of peace, joy, and authenticity. You can trust your intuition again, that inner voice they tried so hard to silence. You can form real, authentic relationships based on mutual respect and genuine love, not on manipulation and control. You can finally pursue your true purpose, the one they tried to sabotage because it was a threat to their fake world. Your spiritual gifts, which they tried to suppress, can now finally flourish. This profound freedom is a gift. It is the reward for your endurance, your courage, and your decision to choose light over darkness. This is the new chapter of your story, one that is not defined by what happened to you, but by who you are becoming. The pain you endured was a temporary chapter, a story that is now closed. Your new life is a spiritual declaration that their darkness had no lasting power over you. Your peace is a testament to the fact that you are a child of light, and you were never meant to be a prisoner in their world of darkness. You have emerged from the spiritual battle as a victor, a person of great strength and profound wisdom. Your life is now a beacon of hope for others who are still struggling, a living proof that true liberation is possible. But as you step into this beautiful new future, it is important to understand the final truth about their story. The narcissist, who refused to change and chose to stay in the darkness, has a different kind of ending. The judgment on their life is a profound and final consequence of their choices, a reckoning they can never escape. The narcissist, having refused every opportunity to change, has now arrived at the finality of their reckoning. There is no escape. The ultimate end for those who choose a path of darkness and an unrepentant heart is to be left with the emptiness of their own creation. The misery you see in them is not just a passing phase. It is the natural, inevitable consequence of their choices, and it is a torment that is final. The Bible speaks of this ultimate reckoning, as Scripture reveals in Romans chapter 2, verses 5 and 6. But because of your hard and unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. He will render to each one according to his works. This is the narcissist's spiritual reality. Their hard and unrepentant heart has stored up a spiritual wrath that is now being revealed. The suffering they are experiencing is a direct result of the works they have done, the lies, the manipulation, and the endless cycles of cruelty. This is the ultimate no mercy of the divine plan. It is not a cruel, arbitrary punishment. It is simply a spiritual principle in motion, a guarantee that no one can escape the consequences of a life lived in pride and falsehood. They are left with nothing but their own thoughts, their own empty soul, and the bitter fruit of their own making. Their kingdom, built on lies, has been exposed, and they are left alone in the wreckage. Their greatest torment is not what others are doing to them. It is the quiet, internal realization that their life has been a waste. They are tormented by the memory of the light they tried to extinguish, the truth they tried to deny, and the love they were incapable of accepting. They are a person who chose to build a hell for themselves, and now they are forced to live in it, a prisoner of their own making, forever tormented by the phantom of the life they could have had. This is the end for those who choose to live in darkness. But for you, the journey is just beginning. The storm has passed, and the sun is now shining. You have endured, and you have overcome. The chains are broken, and you are free to live a life of joy, authenticity, and profound peace. There is no more wrestling, no more fighting, and no more fear. You have won the battle for your soul, and your victory is a promise of a new and beautiful future. You are a person of courage, of strength, and of unshakable hope. Your victory is a beacon of light, and it is a sign that you were always meant to be free. The past is behind you, and a new world is waiting. Rest in the knowledge that your journey has a purpose and that you are not alone. The quiet whisper of peace is now a constant presence in your heart, guiding you toward a future filled with love and light. Sweet dreams, a new day has dawned. The narcissist, in their final and most tragic act of defiance, has chosen to remain in the darkness. The misery you see in them is not just a punishment. It is the final, profound consequence of a life spent in a state of spiritual ruin. The end for them is not a dramatic, sudden fall, but a slow, agonizing descent into a complete and utter spiritual void. They have rejected every chance to turn toward the light, and now they are left to live in the full, unyielding consequence of their choices, a reckoning they can never escape. The Bible tells us about this end. As Scripture says in Proverbs chapter 13 verse 15, "Good sense wins favor, but the way of the treacherous is their ruin." This is the ultimate truth of the narcissist's journey. They chose the way of the treacherous, the way of lies, deceit, and manipulation, and that way has led them to their own ruin. It is a self-inflicted torment, a spiritual trap built by their own hands. They are now facing the full, terrifying weight of a life lived without integrity. Their greatest suffering is not the loss of external things, but the loss of internal peace. They are trapped in their own minds, haunted by the very darkness they chose to embody. They are a person who pushed away every opportunity for authentic connection, and now they are forced to live in a state of complete and total isolation. Their misery is the sound of a soul that has cried out for a lifetime, but has received no answer, because the voice they were listening to was only their own. They are not just alone. They are spiritually starving. The supply they once received from others, the praise, the attention, the adoration, was never enough to fill the void. Now that the supply is gone, they are left with a gnawing, agonizing hunger that can never be satisfied. They are a person who chose to build a spiritual desert for themselves, and they are now forced to wander it alone, looking for a water they will never find because they refuse to drink from the one true source. This is the ultimate, final judgment. It is not an act of vengeance, but a logical and natural consequence. They are simply living in the world they created, a world of emptiness and darkness. This is the end for those who choose a path of pride and falsehood. They are left with nothing but the bitterness of a life unlived, the loneliness of a heart that refused to love, and the profound, unending torment of their own company. And as you stand on the shore, looking back at the storm, know that you have been given the gift of a new beginning. The wreckage of their life is not a sign of your failure, but a sign of your victory. The spiritual battle is over for you. The chains are broken, and you are free to live a life of joy, authenticity, and profound peace. There is no more wrestling, no more fighting, and no more fear. You have won the battle for your soul, and your victory is a promise of a new and beautiful future. You are a person of courage, of strength, and of unshakable hope. Your life is now a beacon of light, and it is a sign that you were always meant to be free. The past is behind you, and a new world is waiting. Rest in the knowledge that you are safe, that you are loved, and that your peaceful future is your sacred and divine birthright. Sweet dreams, a new day has dawned.